Gabriel Orozco, a Mexican artist who was born April 20 in 1962 in Veracruz, Mexico, still living at the age of 57. He's an artist who loves to travel and move around the world. He lived in Berlin, Mexico City, and New York. Orozco was mentioned as one of the most influential artists of the decade. Gabriel Orozco married Maria Gutierrez on August the 2nd in 1994 at the City Hall in New York. They had a son named Simon Orozco in November 2004. The fragile relationship of everyday objects to one another and to human beings is Orozco's principal subject, including animals, insects, and the human's body. He did love to create art with objects that he found around the world. Gabriel Orozco's painting techniques were involved with media, drawing, installation, photography, videos, sculptures, found objects. He mentioned he uses photography to study places that will tell him unexpected lives and stories. His work was characterized by the focus of everyday object.
The division between work and everyday life is very strong. In Mexico, it's the same. And that space in between work and life is the space that is very hard to negotiate for everybody. Leisure time or pleasure time or knowledge time or research time or that space that is left over, because the important thing is to work and then to sustain your life or something. But then all the spaces in between are a bit lost. So every citizen has to fight for those spaces. When you live and you work in the same place, everything is part of the work. Every furniture is important, every little thing, even the trash.
Where to find his artwork? Orozco's work was assembled at the most important museums from the world. In Los Angeles, California, at the year of 2000, his artwork was assembled. Later on, it was assembled at the Contemporary Art Museum, International Rufino Tamayo Museum, and at the Monterrey, Mexico Museum. He created a chessboard made of 4 colors instead of the standard of 2, and the traditional 8x8 board has been reconfigured to be 16x16 with 256 squares. He places artwork on Mexican products. Even though he didn't gain too much money, he felt proud of his artwork. Here we could see some artworks the artist created during his career. He was usually used to work alone or with 2 assistants at a time. The artist's works revolves around many repeated themes and techniques that incorporate real life and common objects. He chose found objects that allow audience imagination to explore them. Gabriel Orozco was interviewed by Benjamin Buclon, where he stated what is most important is not so much what people see in gallery or at the museums, but what people see after looking at these things, how they confront reality again. Gabriel Orozco was known as an artist who was chosen to start and finish the project named Bosque de Chapultepec. He is going to be able to show his creativity with no charge, like he informs in an interview. His career didn't depend on money. In 1983, he starts to assemble his work at places. Gabriel was a man who first exposed his artwork in the modern world through his father's art and his professor at the University of Veracruz, where he studied. Gabriel Orozco, he was a man who did group activities where they used to talk about art in his home and many more stuff. After 5 years and over the time, the artistic home became a place where many artistic and cultural projects took shape. What brought my attention the most from his artwork was the shoebox he created to get the audience attention. He named it the Empty Shoebox in 1993. In my opinion, he wanted for people to find the meaning to his creation, but some people were just confused and didn't seem to understand the purpose of it. Some people even used it to throw trash in it or just pushed it away in the places where he assembled his art creation. Orozco hated to work on studios. He was very open-minded and thought studios were too close and boring. What he founded on places sometimes became a photography to start a creation. As we could see here, he's creating something to take a picture of and later on make it as a sculpture or something else.
I think good art makes a person feel individual and conscious, and there is awareness in the moment of the contact with art. I don't think art is to make people feel they are a mass, entertained by some spectacle. A good work of art is making that person feel aware of the individuality in that moment of concentration and awareness. It's not about entertaining or mesmerizing anybody. I like to think that every piece I do, it needs concentration to be understood, to see it clearly, to understand what is behind the gesture in my work that sometimes looks too easy or connected to those photographs. I think it's nice to disrupt the everyday life in the streets with something that is kind of subtle. It's not so much an imposition, but a dialogue with what is happening. So I think for me what it is important is that those gestures in life, they can be transported to the people, and that is very important. I think that is the most important thing. That through the work you can help people enjoy reality and life with more intensity. I hope it's going to work. It's a new installation I did in Mexico, collecting tires from the motorways. Traveling in the roads in Mexico, I always found these pieces of tires, broken tires, that they look sometimes like serpents, or they look like an animal in the middle of the road. And I started to collect them, and I found them quite interesting. Normally I get involved in all of the work. I like to do it because I need to find out by myself. So every time is a new experience, and I need to understand the experience to get to the final conclusion. We'll have two installations. One is the lintels, which is this laundromat residues from the dryer machine that I showed in New York right after September 11. The city was still quite dusty and shocked, and the presence of this disaster was so strong. Showing this work with all these residues of clothes, but also human hair and particles of the body, was strange presence and feeling about, fragility and death and the residues of movement. I get bored easily, so that's why I need to move to something new and explore something that I'm not sure what it is. I like to be learning. Every work is different, has a different process, because materials, many types of techniques, many types of encounters. To live the process is very important, to understand very well why you are doing something, and then also that gives you ideas for new works.